What is up, everybody? It is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning into another video. Today I have got some more free VSTs that I think you absolutely need in 2020 to keep you mixing, keep your mixes sounding good. So yeah, man, pretty much what I'll be covering are a bunch of analog obsession plugins. They have gone completely Patreon based, meaning that it's kind of like donationware, I guess. So if you do enjoy these plugins, definitely drop by the links in the description to show some support. I also have a few other plugins which I absolutely think are amazing. I mean, just the I just absolutely respect all of the plugin developers out there making really good stuff and pretty much giving them away for free. So let's get straight into it. Links will be in the description for all of these plugins. But nonetheless, man, so what I have done since those who tune into my free VST videos have requested that I do audio examples and kind of just mix certain sounds into the plugin so we can really hear the characteristic of each plugin. So that's what I'll be doing. I've got a bunch of different synth sounds, we've got some drum sounds and that kind of thing that we'll be running through. So stick around and yeah, let's get straight into it. So the first thing I have right here, we'll be working from left to right, and we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plugins today, and the first one we'll be stopping by is the Brit channel, which is pretty much a Neve emulation. I've got one right here, hopefully you can see it in the camera just a little bit right there. And yeah, I don't know what Neve this is emulating. To me, I can see right here it is emulating the 1073 because it does have the same frequency bands. So I'm assuming this treble boost will be a 12,000 Hertz boost. But what we really want out of the Neve sound per se is really that creamy, bigger than life analog sound. So since I know that Dead Mouse actually owns a Neve mixing console, I thought why not get an kind of EDM sound that we can mix into this thing and see if we can really brighten it up and make it sound big room and lush and warm. So I'll play the example we have. One thing to note with the analog obsession plugins is turn on the oversampling on all of them. It'll just give you a bit more kind of analog characteristic at the cost of more CPU usage, but by now your computer should be able to handle it. So let's take a listen first without the plugin on, and then we'll turn it on and manipulate. Let's get it. Alright, there you go. So that's, you get an idea. It's just kind of an arpeggio, but what I want out of it is I want it to sound more bright, I want it to sound more lush, so we'll get straight into that. So as you can hear right there, it kind of does the Neve thing. It kind of gives us these broad EQ curves. The 12,000 Hertz boost is always absolutely wonderful. Definitely pokes out the frequencies. I know I for sure use mine on my Neve. Just a little bit of a boost just to give some air to our microphone. So, absolutely nice, man. I mean, as you can hear the difference when I turn on the EQ on and off, you can kind of hear a huge sonic difference, obviously, because we are EQing heavily for the sake of this video. And it definitely does get the high pass filters right with the Neve. It definitely does. So right now it's on 50. If I put it on 300, you can obviously hear it gets a lot more thin, and that's exactly what happens there. So yeah, man, absolutely wonderful piece of gear. What I can also do, because the analog, the preamp emulation, kind of what it does is it seems to really lower the volume. So what you can do to counteract that is, this is just kind of a bonus plugin, but this is also by Analog Obsession. This is amazing for getting that kind of analog op amp or transistor transformer kind of saturation out of your sounds. You can add this on to get a bit more kind of girth going on, and just listen to this. You know what I mean? You can just get some really crazy sounds, but nonetheless, does it pretty cool. This is definitely nice for vocals, definitely nice for synth-based sounds, etc. So yeah, you know, that's pretty much that for kind of our analog, you know, broad sounding, you know, EQs. Next we have right here is the console emulation. So what we can do with this is, this to me looks like an SSL. So for those who've watched my previous video, basically what I like to do with this plugin is, we'll first talk about what I think it is to me it looks like an SSL emulation. And if we kind of look at the layout, it has an input drive section, right, which is going to give you more analog saturation. Then we have our transformer input, which is kind of going to give us a bit more top and bottom end, a bit more kind of shiny sound. And then we've got our bus or track emulation. So obviously on a console you have a center section which has the mix bus kind of processing section on it, which has a certain characteristic. And then we've got the separate track mode, which I guess is also just emulating the characteristic of a channel strip, right? So if you look at the mixing console, you've got your individual, you know, tracks, and then you've got your center section. So they both have a different characteristic. We've got our output trim, and then we've got a nice shelving equalizer. So shelving EQs look like this, you know what I mean? So you've got kind of this option to just really kind of give your sound some lift to it. And then we've kind of got these different models, which I guess have slight variances in kind of their analog sound. So what I have right here is a drum loop, and I think the cool thing to do with these types of plugins is to try and gain more loudness without actually exceeding 0 dB. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you that this sound is slightly clipping, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive it and then leave the plugin with a lower output but the same apparent volume. So this is definitely good for if you feel that your mixes are running out of headroom but you're not able to get your sounds loud and kind of punchy. So what I'll do for you first is play this without any plugin on it, and then we will turn it on and get the same loudness. So as you can see right there, we're kind of clipping 0 dB, and I just want you to pay attention to how loud that sound was, and then I'll enable this and then we will get going. So first thing I'm going to do is turn down the output, okay? So notice how we now leave with less of a dB count, but at the same time we still have that like kind of upfront sounding good. So this is definitely amazing for vocals that you want to make louder, for drum loops that you want to make louder, and etc, etc. So I'll just turn this off and we can hear. So you see we've dropped in decibel, but we have gained in perceived loudness. So this is absolutely cool. And if you really pay close attention, you can kind of hear how these model variances have a slight different sound on the snappiness of the clap. So just pay attention to that as well. So it feels to me like that gray just kind of clips the snare in a really beautiful way, or the clap, whatever it's called. But beautiful plugin, shout out analog emulation. And as I said, make sure to turn on the oversample section right there. So yeah, pretty cool. Next up we have a clap. Okay, this is just a stock standard clap, but I just wanted to show you with this SSL channel strip, which I'll definitely be making use of in videos to come, is that we can really clean up and detail certain sounds with an SSL style plugin, because that's really what it's for. To me, it's one of the earlier consoles that were able to really get the parametric kind of EQ section right. And you know, obviously throughout history, or since the 80s, I guess 70s and 80s, you know, these consoles have really kind of spoken for themselves. So what we'll do is we'll start off by just listening to the clap. It's going to sound kind of woolly, boring, and then we'll lift it up and give it some life, which you can generally do with the parametric EQ. So let's do that. So there you go, pretty boring clap, right? Kind of woolly sounding, kind of low passed sounding, very boring. And then what I'll do is I'll work kind of top to bottom and then really enhance it. There you go, kind of does its thing. Not really much to say other than that you can really surgically kind of get into a sound and then bring it to life. Obviously without other drums, we really just EQing one thing, but you know, you get what you want. You know, my desire was really to bring out some of the highs, to kind of, you know, rock steady some of those lower mids, to kind of make that clap sound a bit better, you know, just to clean up the bottom end. And you know, you get what you asked for. The drive is really subtle in this plugin. I haven't really noticed much of a difference because I guess SSL is clean per se. It can get dirty, but I guess, you know, this is good enough for me. I just want an EQ that can do what it does. And then if I really do need the extra girth, I could use this transitor, I guess, whatever, transformer plugin. I don't know what it is really, but yeah, you know, so we could obviously, let me just zero that in, and you know, we'll kind of get some more analog sound to it. You know what I mean? Definitely brought to life, would definitely slam in your mix. But yeah, man, next thing we have right here is fun. So I quite like this, man. This is definitely, for me, this is a real sleeper reverb plugin. So for those who actually understand a little bit about behind the science of reverbs, I don't know much about it, is that basically a lot of algorithms tend to still distort, meaning that it's very difficult to replicate a source sound. So for example, if you put your snare into a reverb, you know, the reverb has to actually in real time calculate, you know, that kind of room response, you know, according to all the settings that you have on, and that can be quite difficult. So to me, when I found this Stone Voices plugin, it's just like, it sounds like a real room to me, and to me this kind of beats out some of the UAD stuff that I have. Definitely sounds better than a lot of the stock DAW reverbs. You know, the FL reverb has its own sound to it, but this is just in a league of its own. So what I have right here is a drum room, okay, and then we'll listen to the drum room. I'm pretty sure it is a sample based drum loop, but it definitely has the swing to it. We'll take a listen to it, and then we will you know, enable the reverb and then kind of emulate this if we're playing in a large room or something like that. So pay attention to that. So this is with it off. So yeah, definitely it sounds like samples to me. The kick sounds different to the snare, but nonetheless, it's good enough for us to kind of emulate that drum sound. So I'm going to enable this right now, and then I'm just going to spend about a minute just kind of messing around with all the different parameters. I would hope that you kind of understand the pre-delay, the decay, you know, the early reflections and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll mess around with that. Nonetheless, man, I could play all day. What an amazing sounding reverb. You just have everything up front. I'm definitely going to be using this more. I don't know why I don't. I always say, wow, this is amazing, and then I just leave it and go for like, the evenside reverb or something, which is also great. But, for me, this is personally just an amazing reverb. It really does sound good the longer you increase the decay. Generally, reverbs start to kind of really sound muddy when you increase the decay. This has a really sick pre-delay, meaning the time it takes before the delay is enabled. Absolutely amazing. Obviously, this late right here is the wet signal, is the reverb signal, so you just have to kind of figure that out. Took me a second to find. Usually you would see wet right there instead of late. The stereo enhancer is absolutely crazy, high quality. And then the room size is also amazing. You just get everything. You get an EQ, you get your dampening rate. I've never really understood dampening rate. I'm a college dropout, but I've yet to study that, but it sounds good to me, as a guy who just mixes sounds and does sound design and that kind of stuff. It's really nice. So yeah, man, absolutely amazing. Let's zero that all back, and yeah, definitely check that out. So next one we have right here is something else as well, which is by, I really forget the plugin manufacturer name or the developer's name. I think it's Imaginado, I guess. But this to me is an amazing sounding flanger chorus modulation plugin. Phaser could also be, I guess. And look at the layout. It's simple, it's sweet. It definitely fits that modern kind of vibe. It's not those, kind of 2006 free VSTs anymore. We're really in the big leagues now. I mean, look how cool, this kind of preset section is. We've got some really nice high quality presets which we'll run through. But yeah, for that, obviously, I've gotten another op because I think ops deserve to be modulated. So we'll listen to this quickly and then we will make some adjustments. So take a listen to it dry first. Kind of cool, kind of like a what is that vampire game, a Castlevania kind of op sound. And yeah, we'll mess around with it, make it come to life more. It is kind of mono, it's kind of boring, but yeah, so I've enabled it and then I'll just start messing with it. Nonetheless, man, you get what you need done. I mean, we've got our time and feedback, which really affects the kind of timing of the modulation. We've got our rate and depth. I'm not a big pro on flanging, but I do kind of know how to get things done when it comes to these things. And it sounds good to me. It gives me everything I need. We've got a wet and dry knob. And just a high quality spread. I'm just really happy that there are developers out here doing this kind of thing. So what we'll do is, since I'm not a pro of the layout of these types of plugins, is we'll mess around with some of the presets and see what else we can get. Okay, man, anyway, enough of that. So definitely cool. DLYM, amazing plugin. Shout out to the developer. Alright, so next we have right here is the Triton EQ, and basically for those who know a little bit about consoles, this is a Triton equalizer emulation. I do not know which console specifically, but I don't know any companies that have actually emulated this particular one. This to me also looks just like a 500 series module, almost like realistically. But yeah, pretty much, you know, Triton is a company made by engineers who wanted a mixing board that sounded amazing to them, and you know, that's kind of how the company have always you know, considered making their consoles and that kind of thing, definitely to the engineers' ears. So it is kind of a cool plugin. It kind of does more than what you would think it does in terms of just coloration and sound, in my opinion. So that's why I've got this guitar right here, because to me a guitar definitely has that bright sound that we can manipulate, so you can kind of hear what's going on. So first take a listen to the sound without any equalization, and then I'll kind of tweak it. So really cool, nice and neutral sounding guitar, but let's just say I wanted the guitar to sound more upfront and kind of, you know, sunny or just bright per se, you know what I mean? We could really achieve that with this Triton EQ. So I'm going to start top to bottom. This is the treble, working our way down to the bass. So let's do that. But to me, that is a competitive sounding equalizer. I mean, I could sit all day and just, you know, create different variances of a sound I would want for an acoustic. You know, obviously without a mixed-wave vocal, what can we really do? But yeah, that's to me amazing, man. I'm definitely enjoying this equalizer. I'll definitely be making use of these, and you know, definitely be making a donation to Analog Obsession to continue to make these plugins. The rest of the pack that was for sale, or of his kind of catalog of plugins, are free for download. So you know, definitely check the link in the description. Definitely check the links for these 2 other VSTs as well. And I kind of hope you had some fun messing around with sound with me. And I hope that you make use of these to enhance your mixes. So yeah, man, thank you for spending some time. Definitely make sure to smash like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll check you out next time. Peace out.